I wish I could say I tripped and fell into what happened, that it was an accident. But the truth is much messier than that. I looked into his eyes, Rick's eyes, and I still crossed the line. I knew better. He was my husband's best friend, the man who gave a speech at our wedding, the one who sat beside my father's casket when Alan could not pull himself together. But none of that mattered in the moment Rick turned around, half grinning, and said, "Can you help me with my belt?" It should have been nothing. But the way his fingers lingered, the way my breath caught, the way my hands trembled when I reached for the buckle, it told a different story. One that ended with guilt soaked into my skin like smoke in fabric. I am not proud of what I did that night. But the worst part is, I do not think I was ever the same again. And when I looked into the mirror afterward, I asked myself a question I had been too afraid to answer. Was this really the first time I crossed the line? Or just the first time I admitted it? Before I continue, I want to say a big thank you to everyone who has subscribed to this channel. Your support means the world. To all our returning viewers, and especially to those who have not subscribed yet, I am so glad you are here. I cannot wait for you to hit that subscribe button. It is the fuel and energy that keeps this channel going. Please remember to drop your thoughts in the comments. I read every single one. Now let me take you back to where it all started. Rick moved in with us just 3 weeks after his divorce. My husband, Alan, had offered him the guest room while he got back on his feet. Rick had always been a presence in our lives, at holidays, barbecues, weekend poker nights. He was Alan's best friend since high school and the kind of man everyone liked. Confident, charismatic, a little too charming for his own good. I used to laugh at how all my girlfriends had a crush on Rick. But something changed the day he brought his boxes in and set them down in our hallway. His eyes lingered too long on me. His smile seemed more curious than polite. And though I told myself it was my imagination, deep down, I already knew we were playing with fire. Alan trusted him. He trusted me. And that trust was so blinding, it made me reckless. One Thursday evening, Alan was working late. I was home folding laundry when Rick came down the hallway shirtless, fresh from a shower. He stood in the doorway and said, "Norma, I hate to ask, but this belt is all twisted. Mind helping me out?" I froze. The air changed. My heart picked up. I walked toward him, every step feeling heavier than the last. The belt was old leather, worn. His jeans were half-buttoned. I reached for the buckle with both hands. My fingers touched his. He did not move. Neither did I. Something passed between us. A silence so loud it drowned out the ceiling fan and the ticking wall clock. Then I stepped back. But not before I looked at him, and not before he looked at me with something unspoken. Something forbidden. That night, after Alan returned and we all had dinner like nothing happened, I excused myself and went straight to the bathroom. I locked the door, turned on the faucet, and stared at my reflection like it was someone else. What have I just done? I whispered, but I already knew. And worse, I knew this was only the beginning. I spent the next several days pretending that moment with Rick never happened. I avoided him in the kitchen. I kept conversations short. I stayed in my bedroom longer than usual, claiming headaches or unfinished chores. But guilt is not a thing you can tuck under a rug. It leaks into your smile, it stiffens your voice, and it makes silence feel like punishment. Rick, on the other hand, acted like nothing was out of place. That only made things worse. He would glance at me while Alan talked. He would leave the bathroom door cracked just a little too wide. Once, he brushed past me in the hallway and whispered, "You felt it too, right?" I said nothing, but my silence told him everything. Alan remained clueless, or maybe just distracted. He had started spending longer hours at work, buried in deadlines and team politics. He kissed me goodbye every morning and kissed me goodnight every evening. But between those hours, something had changed. Maybe it was me. Maybe it was both of us. And then Rick crossed another line. One afternoon while Alan was at work, I was in the backyard tending to the small cactus garden I had started. Rick came outside with a glass of lemonade in one hand and his phone in the other. "Norma," he said, sitting beside me, "what are we doing? We cannot keep pretending something is not there." I remember standing up so fast the garden tools clattered against the stones. "There is nothing there, Rick," I said sharply, more to convince myself than him. "And even if there was, it is over." He just stared at me. Not angry, not ashamed, just calm. Too calm. That night, Rick texted me, "You are lying to yourself. I will wait until you stop." I deleted the message. But I could not delete the heat that rushed to my face, or the fear that Alan might someday see it. That fear became real faster than I expected. 2 days later, Alan came home early from work. I was making tea in the kitchen when he walked in and placed my phone on the counter. It was unlocked. His face looked strange, empty, but tight. "I was looking for the grocery list," he said softly. This popped up. It was Rick's latest message. "When can I see you again?" My heart sank into my feet. "Norma," Alan said, his voice breaking slightly. "What is this?" The silence that followed was the longest I had ever endured. My mouth opened, but no words came out. And in that moment, the safe little world we had built together, me, Alan, and even Rick in the guest room, began to fall apart. I wish I could say I denied it, that I found some clever excuse or blamed the message on a misunderstanding. But I did not. I looked into Alan's eyes, and I saw a man already broken. I saw disappointment where love used to live. I saw confusion stitched into anger. So, I told the truth. "Something happened," I said, barely above a whisper. "It was not physical. Not really. But I crossed a line in my heart. I regret it. Deeply." He stared at me for a long time. And then, in the calmest voice I had ever heard from him, he said, "Do you regret it because you are sorry or because you got caught?" I could not answer, because both were true. Alan walked away. He said he needed time. I stayed in the house that night alone. Rick was gone. I did not know when he left, but his bedroom door was open and his closet was half empty. 2 days passed without a word from Alan. Then on the third day, he came home and sat across from me at the dining table. There were no tears in his eyes, just exhaustion. "You want to know the truth, Norma?" he said quietly. "You were not the only one hiding something." I felt my chest tighten. "What do you mean?" I asked. He looked down at his hands before speaking. "You remember those nights I said I was working late? I was not. I was with someone, talking, confiding, trying to understand what was wrong in our marriage." "Who?" I asked, already bracing. He lifted his eyes to mine and said the name I never expected to hear. "Sylvia. My sister." It felt like my soul collapsed in on itself. "Nothing physical happened," Alan continued. "But it was emotional. Maybe even worse. I was leaning on her instead of you. And now, here we are." I stood up from the table. The air felt too heavy. My hands shook. Betrayal wrapped itself around me like a cold wind, except this time, I was not just the one who caused it, I was also the one drowning in it. Rick never came back. He left a note in his empty room that simply said, "This was never about love. Just curiosity. Sorry for ruining everything. Sylvia," and I did not speak again. The silence between us became permanent. Alan and I tried counseling. We sat through 4 sessions before he told me he could not do it anymore. "I still love you," he said, "but I do not trust you. And without that, there is nothing left." He moved out the following week. Now I live alone in the same house where it all happened. The guest room is empty. The garden outside has withered. The belt, the one Rick needed help with, is gone, but I still see it in my dreams. That single moment of hesitation. That foolish second of indulgence. I have learned that betrayal does not always scream. Sometimes it whispers through the cracks of comfort. Sometimes it wears a smile and walks barefoot across your living room. And sometimes it comes disguised as a simple request for help. If I could go back, I would have walked away. But I did not. And I am the one who has to live with that. Thank you so much for watching and listening to this story. If it touched you in any way, or if you have your own story of regret, betrayal, or healing, I want to hear from you. Please drop your thoughts in the comments. Let us have a real conversation. And if you found this story powerful, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Your support keeps this community alive. It gives these stories meaning, and it helps someone else out there feel less alone. Until next time, stay strong and stay honest.